Hi guys, so we're gonna go over some of the most missed questions. We got six to go over. So this is the first one. So the question was, are these triangles congruent? And if so, how? Or by what reasoning? So the first thing we have to understand is focus on one triangle first and figure out what information do you have. Okay, and so if you notice for both of these two triangles, I have two sides that have the same two markings, right? So both of them have a side that have the two little marks. Both of them have a side that have the one mark, and more importantly, they both have a right angle in there, right? And so now we got to figure out. So now that we know that they both have the same information, we next have to figure out are in the same location, right? So are they in the same location? If you notice, we have the side here, and then we have the right angle, and then the last side. And we know nothing about the hypotenuse. So in this case, yes, all the information matches up. And so now the harder part is trying to figure out how do they match up. In other words, what's corresponding to what. And so to figure that out, we simply have to match the sides, right? And so what I mean by match the sides is this is what I mean. So if we start along the side that has we'll call it for identification purposes, the green side, and go towards the 90-degree angle, and then we go along from the 90-degree angle towards along the blue side. Okay, so we do the same thing. Then that's what's telling me exactly what's going to correspond with what, or in other words, what lines up with what. And so here I start. So for the first one, I start with triangle A. I then went towards B, and then I ended at C, right? So start at A to the 90-degree angle, then to the side along the blue side along towards the C, right? So we're going to say that is going to be congruent. So we go along the green side towards the 90-degree angle. So we start off at angle Z, and then go from the 90-degree angle, go along the blue side towards X, and we end, towards Y, and then we end at X. And so that's how we know that these angles match up, right? And so what that's saying is, yes, these are going to be congruent. Yes, they're going to be congruent by, so you say by, we have a side angle side, so we say SAS for congruence. Okay. Moving on to the second problem. So the second problem, or the next problem, it states, are these two triangles similar? If so, how? So the first thing we have to notice is that we have parallel lines here, parallel segments. So first of all, yes, those are parallel lines, but we have to identify triangles here. So we have this triangle there, right? And then we also have this bigger triangle out there, right? So we have a little triangle instead of a bigger triangle. And so one thing we got to point out is that 4 goes from here to here, right? Which is telling me that this longer side, the green side, is actually 6 units, right? And so to figure out whether they are similar or not, we have to look at the information that we have. So one, they are already sharing this side, right? And we can't really say anything about this third side, so we can't compare sides because we don't know anything about this last side. But what we do have, however, is they're sharing that angle there, so that's congruent for both. And because these are parallel, then we have another congruent angle. So this angle here is going to be congruent corresponding with that angle there. And so notice how they both have a side, right? So they're only asking us to determine whether they are similar or not. And so here we have all the information that we need. We have an angle for both, right? And then we have that second angle, and then we have the side between both of them. So in this case, yes, they are similar by angle, side, angle. All right, moving on. So here, this question, they are already telling us that they are similar, right? And to make it easier on us, so I'm going to go ahead and color code what's corresponding and congruent. So in this case, H, the angle H is the same as the angle L. My angle B is going to be corresponding and congruent with angle Y. And my angle N is going to be corresponding and congruent with angle R. And so the reason I did that is because I want to color code it, because now the side between the green and the blue is going to match with that one, and the side between green and red is going to match this other side between green and red. And so now I can go ahead and set up my proportion to solve for what I need, in this case X. So I'm going to put blue over blue, 3x minus 7 equals 21 over 7. Now notice how both of these came from one triangle, right? They both came from the same triangle. They both came from triangle LYR. Okay, and so that means that the bottom ones, they have to both come from the same triangle as well. And so then from here we do the cross multiplication. So on the left side we have 7 times x plus 11. On the right side we have 21 times 3x minus 7, and we go ahead and distribute that. So we have 7x plus 77 equals 63x minus 147. And then we go ahead and solve for x this way. So subtract 7x from both sides, so minus 7x, and we're also going to add 147 at the same time. So on the left side, when we do 147 plus 77, we get 224. And on the right side, when we subtract 7 minus 63, we get 56. And so then the last step here is to divide 224 by 56, and we get an x to be 4. All right, let's keep going. So here the next one is, are these two triangles similar or not, right? So we have to look at what we have. So one, they're already telling us that this angle here, both those two angles are congruent. Because we have vertical angles here, then those two are also congruent, because vertical angles are always congruent. And so the other thing we need is a side, right? And so in this case, we can kind of choose the corresponding sides, this or this, or these two, doesn't matter, right? And so since they're only asking us, are they similar? They're not asking us to, they're not asking us for an actual proportion or a ratio. So in this case, do we have enough information to show that they are similar? And in this case, we do, because if we notice that, so the sides, and then so this would be proven that they're similar by angle side, right? And if they were asking for an actual ratio or proportion, then we would simply put 16 over 20 and simplify. So here, they're once again, they're telling us that the two triangles are already similar. So I'm going to go ahead and match up everything that's together. So angle L and angle L. So we got vertical angles there. And then we have angle M goes with angle U. And lastly, we have angle N is going to go with V. Okay. And so once again, the reason I'm doing that is because now I can kind of match up the sides, right? So between green and blue is there, so green and blue is there. And then between blue and red, so between blue and red, so those are the two sides, or that's how I'm going to create my equation or my ratio. And so the reason I highlighted is because now I can go ahead and set up my ratio or my proportion. So we got 60 over 10 equals, no, we'll call this. Notice how both this top one came from triangle 1, bottom one came from triangle 2. So when I set it equal to, then whatever I make it equal to on top has to come from the triangle number 1. So we have 12x plus 6 over 11. And from here, we cross multiply. So we got 660 over 10 times 12 plus 6. And we solve for x. So 660 is still there. 120x plus 60, subtract 60, we get 600 because we subtracted 60, and so now we do 600 divided by 120, and you get x to be 5.